You are listening to Peak One Sports.
Happy Saturday and welcome to the Leadoff on the Peak One Sports Network. I'm Ashton and that's Tony, and we are here to get you ready for your sports weekend. Leading off, Tony, we got a little bit of breaking news. Well, it was breaking yesterday. Aaron Donald retires after 10 seasons at the age of 32 years old. A little bit surprising because it wasn't in the news. Like, there were no rumors about it. You know, there's always somebody in the end that talks about it. What kind of shot in your mind when you heard this news?
Yeah, I mean, he's still a young guy, and it was surprising. I'm still kind of haven't processed it in the fact that I can understand why he would retire.
Yeah,
like you said,
still
there's
at the
no
top of his game.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he said that he was, leaving, that he wanted out, that the team didn't just win a Super Bowl where he could be like, hey, you know what, I want to go out on top like that.
Yeah, even, I mean, you usually hear, sometimes from the players or people they play with, like, they're not going to play till they're, 36, 37 years old or 40 or whatever. Nothing from him. This may not surprise his teammates or coaches or people who know him, but yeah, he's one of only two players to play at least 10 seasons. He played 10 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But to play at least 10 seasons and make the Pro Bowl every single year, the other was Barry Sanders, who also retired very young.
He was a 3-time defensive player of the year.
Yeah. Hall of Famer. First ballot Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and he does have a ring to put that, from a few years ago. So it just didn't seem to me like it'll hit us later, like how good he really was.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like he was right in the middle of his career almost. It felt like he had 3-4 really good seasons left.
You've seen some guys do this, not as big a name. I think it's what makes it surprising is he's such a big name. But I can remember there's been some, I think they played for the 49ers, or one guy that played for the 49ers was a linebacker. I don't have the name off the top of my head. Retired early like that, just a few seasons in. It was like, I'm not going to put my body through this. I'm not going to deal with the head trauma. I'm not like, I made it to this level. I made money. I'm out.
Yeah.
I can only imagine that has to be what it is for him. Is he's made it to this elite level. He's making tons of money. I think he's a 99 player on Madden. I can only imagine that's what it is. And he's like, hey, I'm going to live my life and I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm not going to put my body through the rigorous.
You bring up Madden. I'm in the middle of a franchise right now. I think I'm 6 or 7 seasons in. He's on my team, so he's still playing in Madden, which just shows how far he's expected to play. I don't know his marital status, if he's got kids or not. I'm sure he does, but maybe that plays into it. 6-7 months out of the year, just being away from family for the most part. Like we said, first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, what else is there to prove? I guess if you don't have that in you to have, how some guys just can't let the game go.
Well, what's surprising, like I said, what's surprising is he's a young guy, and this had never been rumored. It wasn't really taken that serious that he would ever retire.
Like with Jason Kelsey, we heard it was coming. He's an older guy. I know I mentioned earlier, like, some players just aren't going to play. I know people, I think even Lucas said it. Lucas says they compare him to Dirk. He's like, I'm not playing 20 years. There's no way. I guess things could change.
And you heard rumors with Jason retiring that Travis, if he won the Super Bowl, that he would retire.
Yeah.
That it's not completely surprising to me, because what else can Travis Kelsey do in his career?
Yeah. He's already got Taylor Swift. He's already has a 3-time Super Bowl. He's I don't know,
Yeah.
first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's definitely, I mean, the Super Bowl's probably thrust him into that, but he's definitely a Hall of Famer already as well.
Yeah. So there's not anything he's going to do in his career that's really going to change the outcome at the end of the day.
For sure.
So maybe that's the mindset from Aaron Donald, is that he there's nothing going to change for him. He won a Super
Yeah.
Bowl. He has a Super Bowl ring. He has all of the
Probably not winning it
individual.
again the next couple of years with the Rams.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He has all the individual accolades. I could only imagine it would be that he doesn't want to put his body through that anymore.
Yeah. Again, Aaron Donald retiring after 10 seasons, 32 years old. 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, and he's made the Pro Bowl all 10 seasons in his career. This episode is brought to you by Betalytics. Do not bet with your gut. Use Betalytics and their AI algorithms to make smarter picks. Use promo code PEAK1 for 25% off when you sign up today. Shank It Golf is also a sponsor. Golf is fun. Dress like it. Use promo code PEAK1 for 15% off of Shank It Golf. And also be sure to sign up for the Peak One Sports March Madness Challenge and compete against other Peak One fans as well as other various hosts. You can submit up to 3 brackets absolutely free. So you can do your serious bracket, your upset bracket, your random, whatever, your fan bracket, I guess, if you're...
There's 2 days left.
Tomorrow's Selection Sunday. Well, I guess technically... I'll have to see how this one works because I know the first
2 days left
4
to sign up.
The first 4 games usually aren't the cutoff because it's just kind of whatever seed they're going to be thrust in, it gives you a slash or whatever. So I'll make sure that it's not going to cut you off before, we'll say like Wednesday is going to be the last day because the tournament's going to start Thursday with the first round. I know they have those weird first 4 games. It probably doesn't matter unless you're going to pick one of those teams to go a few rounds. But tomorrow is Selection Sunday. We got some championships today, some championships tomorrow, conference championships. And then you'll be able to officially pick your bracket sometime, I want to say tomorrow afternoon. But like if you're a Duke fan like me and you don't expect them to go very far in the tournament, you can have one. I'll have one where I'm probably picking Duke to win it all. Then I'll have my serious one. Then I'll have an upset one. But again, Selection Sunday's tomorrow. You can go ahead and sign up now. It's absolutely free. This episode, we're going to give NFL offseason updates, talk about free agency a little bit, talk about some teams that are doing some good work and others that we're not sure. And we'll start off with some teams we're just not sure what the hell they're doing. With the Los Angeles Chargers. They made a great move, I thought, by snatching up Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh really didn't have a choice, I think. I think he was facing suspension one way or the other in college. Won a championship and got the hell out, but he is the head coach of the Chargers. Now, I think you're the same boat as me that Justin Herbert's kind of he's been disappointing, to say the least. Like, stat-wise, he's been okay, but no playoff wins. Just one playoff appearance, not a whole lot. Something we thought Justin Herbert might be, like the next. I don't even know who to compare him to, but him, Patrick Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence would kind of be like your Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger type threesome for the next 10 years, and Justin Herbert just hasn't held up to that. And the Chargers are helping him out by trading away Keenan Allen to Chicago, releasing Mike Williams, and letting Austin Eckler go. So, who the hell is Herbert going to throw to, Tony? Who's going to be the offensive weapon? Because the Chargers really haven't signed anybody of significance to their offense.
I think you would hate to say they're in like a rebuild mode. And with all the high-powered skill players that were out there, that they didn't make a move with letting guys go, which they had to make room with for so let me get my names, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa. I mean, you've got those guys. I mean, they had They had to let Keenan Allen and Mike Williams go because of cap issues. I mean, they had a lot of money. Though their projected cap hit was upwards of $30 million next season. So they had to make moves there. So to keep Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, to keep that, they had to let other guys go. But to not go back in and look for these other skill players to fill these holes, my thought would be that they're going to go deep into the draft.
Not a whole lot of draft capital.
Except I think where they fall at number 5 in the draft, they're probably going to take the Notre Dame tackle, Joe Alt. I think that's probably the move they're going to make. But maybe deep in the draft, they're going to stock up on receivers and running backs, those skill position players that they let go that did so well for them. Now again, they've had those players for quite a while. That team hasn't had a lot of movement, and they haven't been successful with that. So is it one of those things he's just coming in, Harbaugh's going to come in and blow it up?
Yeah, we're seeing similar with
it hasn't been working.
Yeah, we're seeing similar with Denver and gosh, why is he it's missing his name's eluding me, but you can get
Russell Wilson.
Was
that
no, the coach.
Oh, Sean Payton.
Sean Payton. I was thinking Steve for some reason. Sean Payton, because Sean Payton's kind of going there and doing his own thing.
Yeah.
But with the Chargers, like, you can find receivers and running backs in the draft. It's not overly difficult, but I'm gonna say I said it the same with the Cowboys, that should not be your plan or your backup plan to say, oh, well, we'll replace him in the draft.
Yeah.
When you lose him, like, it's okay to say, okay, he's got 1 year left on his contract. I don't know what we're going to do. We're not going to re-sign him, but let's go see because you at least have a couple of drafts to figure it out. But this one, you got to replace Austin Eckler. We saw the mass exodus of running backs, moving teams. You have 2 very solid receivers that you have to try to replace. I get it. You can only do what you can with the cap, and you have some really big star power on your defensive side. Whereas Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are really good receivers. They're not, no one's saying they have the best 1-2 combo in the league or even, one of the top combos. But I don't see a lot improving for the Chargers. A lot more disappointment for Justin Herbert, I think, because you don't typically see a quarterback finally figure it out after you got rid of his best weapons.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones and the Cowboys are all in, as we can see by what they've done so far this year. They've signed Eric Kendricks.
The first signing, huh?
Only signing
was the long snapper.
Yeah, that was a re-signing technically, so it didn't even count. So Eric Kendricks, at least their only notable signing of free agency, which I'm not going to knock him. That's a good signing.
It fills a hole. It's going to help with the run defense.
Yeah, there's definitely a hole in the linebacker position for the Cowboys.
But Jerry Jones loves to sign these, bigger names at the end of their career.
Yeah. So this would definitely be a more exciting signing 5 years ago. He's a solid player, though. I mean, you can't just fill that spot up with rookies. They just got rid of Leighton Vander Esch. Obviously injury issues, but you need some veterans back there. And they're probably going to, I don't think they'll spend their first round pick because they have a lot of holes to fill, especially offensive line. Seeing Tyron Smith go to the Jets now. I think offensive line will be first round, but I think linebacker might be second round pick.
I really got a feeling that they may go after a receiver in the first round.
Really? You think? Okay.
I think, that LSU receiver, Brian Thomas Jr., I think it could be a solid spot. They just let go late yesterday. Michael Gallup was released.
Yeah.
They're opening up some spots, and I think that's a position where you're going to fill it pretty well. I mean, I'm always a big proponent in the draft is that you're going to get these skill position players for much more. You're going to get more value out of these picks than you will the tackles, the guards, defense, even defensive tackles. which they still may want to address because that run defense was bad last year, and the teams that figured that out they handled them.
They still have CD Lamb, but you saw when they drafted CD Lamb, we thought they were set at receiver, and we thought you need to be safe. You need pick offensive line at the time, and I think we were excited. Like, okay, fine, let's just score 40 points a game now. And then obviously things have transpired where you don't have Gallup anymore, and now CD Lamb's your main receiver. So I could see them doing that, I guess, depending on who dropped to them. Losing Tyron Smith, and now you got to think about Zach Martin. Like, you have him for at least next year. I mean, he restructured his contract, so he's not going anywhere unless he retires. But you're obviously seeing him start to wear a little bit, and you got to start thinking about replacing them as well. But you signed Eric Kendricks. Micah can start focusing more on defensive end positions. That's less. I mean, we'll see with Zimmer in there, the new defensive coordinator, what he does with these players, and that's where Eric Kendricks comes from. Zimmer, ex-player. Let's see. Yeah, we talked about them releasing Leighton Vander Esch, Michael Gallup. Not a whole lot of excitement. I mean, not that this is surprising, but when Jerry says we're going all in, which I think was really motivated by such a disappointing performance and early playoff exit last year, where you just you're forced to do something to keep people relatively happy. And really, Jerry Jones doesn't run that team anymore. I mean, not the player personnel. I think that's definitely Stephen Jones now. So it's like Jerry might be talking out of turn where Steven's like, yeah, we're not going all in. Because they got to think about re-signing CD Lamb and Micah Parsons next season.
Well, that's what I was going to say. What does all in mean? Does that mean we're going to go all in and make sure we don't lose Micah, Dak, CD, which is important? You don't want to lose those three.
That's an interpretation, but in the moment when he said it, in the perspective,
which is
from what he said,
the exact reason I think that you're going to fill your third receiver spot with a draft pick versus going into free agency and overpaying for that skill position.
For sure.
And as far as the running back goes, I don't feel like that needs met either. They may look later in the draft for a running back as well.
I saw quiet rumors of Zeke returning, which would be,
I think he has to return on a team-friendly deal.
Yeah, and he's going to be like your third down back, 10 carries a game, something like that. Again, I'll say it. I don't think you should have your backup plan rely on the draft, but who knows? I mean, they're notoriously good for a good drafting team the last decade. So you get some good offensive weapons. I feel like they put their foot down with Dak, which sometimes you kind of like, hey, we have a window here. Let's just extend him and ride it out, and we'll be in cap hell later. But it seems like they're just going to roll with it with his $56 million cap hit this year. And if not more, it might be more. And let him play out the last year of his contract. And I think there's a little bit, even if they didn't re-sign him, there's a little bit more of dead money the next season. And figure it out. And if he does great, wins a Super Bowl or makes the NFC Championship game, then they re-sign him, or you let him go and you start over. I don't know. I'm surprised that they didn't re-sign Dak. Not that was the better option. That's probably the more responsible option. Definitely not the all-in option. But,
if you know that you're going to keep him long-term, then I think you could do a re-sign and restructure and kick the can down the road.
Yeah, because he's wanting like $60 million a year, which you could easily do, and then because you're doing a new contract with signing bonuses, this year's cap could be like 30. Yeah, you could save $20 million, maybe not quite 20 million.
But then again, you're kicking the can down the road, and you're stuck with him for another 5 years or so.
Yeah, because we were expecting a lot. I don't know that we expected possibly Saquon Barkley, but we definitely thought Derrick Henry, especially since you saw these running backs going and Derrick Henry wasn't, and you're like, okay, he was working out in Dallas. He bought a house in Dallas. We were thinking maybe, but then you saw reports of a couple of running backs whose numbers were $4 million a year, and they thought that was too much. I was like, low crap. That's not good.
Which then lends me to believe that you would maybe look at drafting your running back.
Yeah.
But you also have Rico Dowdell, and he's not a slump. I mean, I think he's probably as good as anything in that 4 million and under range you would have gotten anyways.
Yeah.
So I think if that's your budget, that is your running back for this year. I think he's just a Tony Pollard 2.0. Might be slightly more powerful of a back, but a very similar running style and running back. Now, maybe it does make sense to bring Zeke back for your third down power kind of back. If we think he's still got it, I'm not sold that he does that he had that what Derrick Henry would bring to this offense.
And you don't know what this offensive line is going to look like now without Tyron Smith.
Yeah.
Maybe they draft some key pieces. I know they need a new center. Maybe you're thinking we're not going to pay big time money for a running back when we don't even have an offensive line to really, what's the difference?
Yeah.
Is Derrick Henry going to do amazing without an offensive line? Is he going to do that much better?
Well, in this kind of West Coast-ish, I don't know that's the exact West Coast offense, but West Coast-inspired offense, I don't know that you really care to have that big back, that big power guy.
Yeah, more like a dump-off type running back.
Which I think you've got with Dowdell.
Yeah, I think that's much easier to get because if you just can get a running back, you can almost do a running back receiver hybrid.
Yeah.
You line them up.
I mean, you saw him last year. Last year, CD lined up several plays in the backfield.
I hope that's not their backup plan because CD Lamb does not have the build to be able to withstand being a running back. We'll see. Definitely not all-in moves, but I guess Jerry's the best at using words and dialogue to beat around the bush. And you're right that in different contexts, this could be different all in. He could say, hey, we're all in this 5-year plan.
There were some ESPN reporters that kind of joked about it and said, what, this is the best thing Dallas could have done is not make moves because now nobody has there's no hype around them. Nobody expects them to be anything. Because if they go out and sign a Derrick Henry, then everyone's saying, oh, they're going to the Super Bowl. This is their year. Now nobody's saying that, so maybe this is a blessing in disguise.
I mean, before these last 3 years where they were making, winning 12 games and making the playoffs multiple years in a row, it kind of seemed like that. It was every other year. We're like, the Cowboys aren't going to do anything. They surprise us, win the division. You're like, okay, and then they disappoint us. So we're like, oh, that's a good year, and then now we're excited, and then they're bad again, and then we're not. It's just like a never-ending cycle. And now I'm not sure what to expect. I'm expecting them to make the playoffs. I'm expecting them to be a wild card team at this point. We'll see because the other team, every team in this division has improved except for Dallas.
Yeah.
And again, we still have the draft. Who knows what happens? You drafted Dak Prescott. You drafted a lot of players late in the draft where you didn't think there were going to be much. So we'll see. Vikings signed Sam Darnold after Kirk Cousins heads to Atlanta. That Kirk Cousins deal, man, he not that he doesn't deserve all the money he's getting, but he has earned a lot of money in his career. For somebody in my head seems like kind of a mediocre.
He's won one playoff game, I believe.
Yes, one playoff. He's like 1-5. Which we talked about on the sports page the other day. It seems weird because I know they played in an NFC championship game a few years ago, but they did have their backup in, so that's probably where the one playoff win comes from. The Vikings also have 2 first-round picks, number 11 and number 23, so I would imagine they would go for a quarterback with one of those picks, or combine them and trade up in the draft maybe to get a quarterback. I don't see Sam Darnold as the answer to this team because it's not a bad team. Just without a quarterback, we saw what
But
happens when
the
Cousins got
spot that
hurt last year.
Minnesota is, I mean, I think you're exactly right. Where Minnesota's sitting, that would probably put him in the range of Michael Penix Jr. For quarterback, which I think is probably a good fit there. I think he would be a solid decision for them to go because you're 100% right. Sam Darnold, they didn't sign him as the starting guy, and I hope he doesn't come in there thinking that.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just that a couple weeks early on until your rookie gets a hold of things, gets a handle of things, but
Yeah.
he's not the answer.
This is his fourth team. Typically on your fourth team, you're not putting it all together. Darnold has 56 interceptions in 66 games. Just not doing very well recently. Maybe you could get a Penix Jr., that number 11 pick. If not later, I know they're dogging pretty hard on this quarterback class right now. Number 11 and number 23 might get you in the top 5 if you want to trade up as well.
Yeah. And that's probably the move they would make is to trade up to get one of those quarterbacks. I mean, you've still got Jaden Daniels and Drake May.
I've seen some people
they're up.
saying Jaden Daniels might go ahead. I'm bad with names this morning. This is terrible.
I've got him going.
Caleb Williams might go ahead of Caleb Williams, but I think a lot of that is Caleb Williams. He's not throwing in the combine till his pro day type.
I don't think so. I think Jaden Daniels is probably your third quarterback.
Okay.
Probably going somewhere like New England.
Yeah,
it's probably going to be where he would sign.
I think Mayo can probably be mid first round. I think he might drop. He could drop further, but I think usually when you think these guys are going to drop teams
I don't think
back
I
into
really
the first
don't think
round
that's going to be the case. I truly believe he's going to be the number 2 overall pick to the Washington. Really? I think so. Washington hasn't answered their quarterback issue either.
Yeah.
I don't see them not taking the second best quarterback and in this draft class. I mean, it's kind of a toss up, honestly, between all of them. Like you said, I don't think Caleb Williams is leaps and bounds better than any of these guys. They're all pretty close. I mean, outside of Penix Jr., he might be, he's down that a little bit, but I think Drake May is probably your number 2 overall pick. And then, I mean, you're probably looking at top 3 quarterbacks, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
With Caleb Williams to the Bears. Drake May to the Commanders and Jaden Daniels to the Patriots.
Yeah. All 3 teams are looking quarterback. That's very possible. I think I know it's hard to, I mean, if you have a top 3 pick in my mind, unless there's a non-quarterback player that's just leaps and bounds, generational player, something like that, I think you either have to take a quarterback or trade out of that pick.
Yeah.
And if you're not prepared, if you're not sold on that quarterback that falls to you, you be prepared to let another team jump in, stack up on draft picks. Just because your salary matters where you're drafted. And with a quarterback, it doesn't matter. On a rookie deal is worth it. Unless he's just a total bust. But you have to take that risk. But you're not going to, draft, to me, not a non-skilled player so high up unless they're just that good. Because you're not getting your bang for your buck as much. Going from the first, top 5 pick to, middle of the first round or something like that.
Yeah. We didn't talk about Denver much, but, they have a quarterback vacancy there.
With no picks. I mean, where's their first pick?
I don't know. I mean, do we think they would try to trade up and get into this quarterback mix? I mean, the best they may be able to get up to, maybe is a JJ McCarthy. Do we see him being a
Yeah.
first round guy just because
If I was
of that
Denver,
need.
man, I would just sit back and be like, we're going to suck next year.
Do you
There's
think
no getting over it. And I mean, draft what you can this year.
Do you think you have that much time with Sean Payton though?
I don't know. I mean, the ownership knows. Like if you're talking about till Sean Payton retires or leaves or whatever, sure. But I mean, as the owner, you're giving him. Sean Payton thinks he has time by just pulling the plug on Russell Wilson so quickly. Now he's in the locker room with him and in the office with him talking, so he knows. Like we're thinking, man, that was quick. He pulled the plug. Like give him some more time, but. I guess if you just don't like his attitude, or if you just know what you think what you have with him, then sure. But those are some pretty bold moves by Sean Payton. Like I think he feels like he has at least 3 years to turn this around.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of don't start your franchise around your quarterback. Like try to build around it and then get your quarterback. That just gives you that extended time on a rookie contract, because outside of Patrick Mahomes, you don't see teams win championships once they pay their quarterback. And I think that's what the Broncos should be doing. I don't think they should rush to try to get a quarterback. You still have
you asked
million
about
in dead cap space.
Where the Broncos were at. Actually, they're the number 12 overall pick.
They do
in the first round. They have number 12 pick.
They traded away all their first round picks, I thought, to get Russell Wilson. Is that a traded pick?
This is updated. March 15th, so
wow. I didn't know they had a first round pick this year. Again though, still with 80 million in dead cap space, look at Houston. Houston's kind of fell into a lot of what looks like superstar players. You get lucky with CJ Stroud, but they had a lot of first round picks too. I would try to build your team around your future quarterback, and then wait a season or two, and then you have a pretty solid team for 4 years. I mean, you're not competing in your division anytime soon.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Chargers are already ahead of you. I don't know that the Raiders are in a better position, but you have the Chiefs, and they're going to run, at least be in contention to run that division for 3, 4, even 5 more years.
Yeah.
What it looks like, especially this year. So with all your dead cap space, with the division you're in, I would just kind of hold back. I know you still have fans to put up with, and you need season ticket holders to buy stuff. You need merchandise. You need your fans to be there, but for the long term, I wouldn't rush at anything, because you're kind of limping out of that Russell Wilson
that's something
situation.
That as a Cowboys fan, we see it for sure firsthand, but that's something that some teams do better than others, is that shock and awe signing.
Yeah.
That just really gets people excited. And I don't know that that's always, as a Cowboys fan, you're like, man, I wish they would have gone out. You're disappointed they didn't go with so many big names in free agency this season, that they didn't go and fall into that. But realistically, you set back from a business perspective, it's probably the best move the Cowboys really did make. The holes that they need, there weren't necessarily those players for the correct value that you would want to spend long term.
Yeah, free agency,
they're trying to build
you always overpay.
Yeah,
that's the point is bidding. Except the Steelers getting Russell Wilson, I guess, because he's getting $80 million anywhere. How much ever money he's still guaranteed. He can go sign for whatever. Like, hey, it's just cake at this point.
Yeah. There are those situations that you get those moves, but I would say overall in free agency, unless you just need that, like you have such a hole that, a quarterback like Atlanta, yes, they paid up for Kirk Cousins, but they needed that. Kirk Cousins is actually probably going to do wonders in Atlanta with the weapons that they have, and the young team they have. He's probably a great fit there.
And that's a division you could. I feel like is wide open. I know the Bucks went ahead and extended Baker Mayfield because I guess they feel the same way. Like he earned the job, so I mean, regardless if it doesn't work out, but it's a very winnable division at this point. Like things can change in a couple of years. But Atlanta, I mean, of course, if you win a Super Bowl, it makes it worth it. I know they're not favored, or probably not even the top 10 favored teams at this point, but you win a division, win a couple of playoff games. I mean, it justifies the contract to me, anyways. That's just the world we're in. Because
at this time they can afford to pay him that because they do have such a young team.
Yeah.
In 2 years, this may be a problem.
Yeah.
And
that's just a cycle of things. Usually you don't. I mean, outside
it's
the
like
Patriots
the Russell Wilson deal, right?
Yeah, outside of like Tom Brady taking pay cuts.
Yeah.
That's a foreign thing. Like even Patrick Mahomes didn't even take a pay cut this season or this offseason. They restructured his deal, which all that does is push more and more dead money down the road with the intent, like in their minds, thinking the cap's going to go up anyways. It's not going to be a big deal. As opposed to other teams who already have that cap space and they're just getting more and more and more cap space. And we see the quarterback market get reset every single season. I mean, here in 5 years, there's probably going to be teams like what we think of $40 million now, like 55, 60 million is not going to be that big a deal. We're going to have probably a couple Mahomes at that point, maybe getting a $70 million cap hit, $80 million cap hit.
Yeah. Yeah. CJ Stroud or something when he's going to get his big contract.
Maybe next year they're re-upping their contracts earlier and earlier. And if CJ Stroud has another good year, he's looking like, hey, I've won a couple of playoff games. Things are looking up. That's not unheard of to get rookie contracts reset after 2 seasons. Now that doesn't mean they have to do it. I don't know that CJ Stroud is the kind that's going to hold out if they don't give him a new one. I don't even know if that's what he wants in general. Being the number 2 overall pick, I think he's making a ton of money anyways. But I agree, if CJ Stroud at least stays on the trajectory he's at, 2-3 years, he's going to be making $60 million, it seems like.
Yeah.
With TV deals and the cap going up, that's just is what we're starting to see. Receivers make up to $30 million now. We're starting to see defensive players make $30 million now.
Yeah, I mean, someone like Micah Parsons is going to be up there for that, you know.
CD Lamb too. I mean, if the Cowboys can afford to do that. But I remember Dak Prescott a few years ago still on his rookie deal, asking for $32 million, and Cowboys were like, no way. And I even thought we were like, yeah, no way, go. And then he ends up getting $40 million after having a really good season. Now, can you imagine paying Dak Prescott $32 million? It'd be a steal.
Well, and that's, you know, Dak's going to be a big one next year, you know, assuming the Cowboys don't do anything to rework a deal for him before the end of the season.
Yeah, if Dak Prescott, unless he just has a terrible year and he needs
he's
to
betting
have
on
another
himself.
Prove it year.
Yeah, I mean, this year, I mean, he arguably played the best of any quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
On paper, I mean, he had the best season
in the regular season,
of any other quarterback in the regular season. So, you know, if he's willing to bet on himself again and go, I think he's going to have just as good of a season, and the Cowboys are going to have a hard decision to make.
Yeah. And if
he
goes to free agency, because at that point, I think his number definitely goes up, because he could say, I don't have to play another year. I'm going into free agency. What am I going to get in free agency?
I mean, as a Cowboys fan, yes, you get frustrated with him, but I'm a realist and understand he's really the best option you have.
Yeah. Without blowing it up and just
it would be scary
gold in the draft.
It would be scary to see him on another team with not necessarily better weapons, but different weapons, like a different offense, like a complete just reset for him. I think would be very scary to face.
Yeah.
I think he has the potential. I mean, look at, you know, when he and Wentz were both drafted, right? Same draft, facing off against each other.
Goff as well.
And Jared Goff. I mean, look where everyone's kind of shaken out. I mean, yes, Jared Goff's playing on a good Detroit team. Jared Goff, I don't think is better than Dak Prescott.
No.
Carson Wentz obviously was a bust and is not as good as Dak Prescott.
Injuries or not, he had a really good season and a half.
Yeah. So
just turned into
Dak really is a good player. I mean, whether you say he can get you to the next level, I mean, he was not the only issue on this team, and now you're getting other things coming. Was it Dalton Schultz saying, reporting that, Cowboy culture is just different when you're trying to work out, you're trying to do things in the facility, and you've got people taking tours and banging on the glass. It's like you're in a zoo. It's like you're in captivity. That's part of the problem here. Now Jerry loves it because it's pad in the pockets. You're the most valued franchise in the world, but that doesn't equate to playoff wins and championships.
And outside of, championships, the Cowboys have still been very, very successful. Maybe not to the Cowboy level or the Cowboy standards, but compare it to the Jaguars. Most of their season or most of their franchise history, the Panthers, the Browns, the Lions up until this last year when they did pretty good, and it looks like they have a bright future. The Jets for most of their career. Now, every single team I've just mentioned has been to an NFC championship. A conference championship game in the last 10 years, I believe. I think the Jaguars may have been a little bit longer than 10 years or right around there. And a couple of them have been to a Super Bowl, but you go 5, 6, 7 years without being relevant, and then you come back. Now, maybe people want to say, hey, let's just go 5 years down of irrelevance and see what we can rebuild, because you're just kind of treading water. But it seems like the Cowboys will switch out quarterbacks, at least, the last 20 years, but switch out quarterbacks, switch out players. You go Tony Romo to Dak Prescott, you go Sean Lee to Leighton Vander Esch, and now we'll go somewhere else to Micah Parsons. DeMarcus Ware to Lawrence and Micah Parsons, Des Bryant to CD Lamb, and they haven't done much in the playoffs, just a couple of wins in that period. Yeah. But they've turned over to new superstars where they're still making the playoffs. They're still being relevant, and to me, I think Jerry Jones thinks that's okay as long as we're in playoff contention. Because even those 8-8 seasons with Jason Garrett, they went to the last game of the year with a divisional game with a chance to win the division.
Yeah.
So really outside, the last 20 years, the Cowboys have only had 2 losing seasons, and that's with Tony Romo and Dak Prescott both getting, or 3 losing seasons, all with Tony Romo or Dak Prescott getting hurt. So other than that, you're keeping a relevant team on the field. You're keeping a regular season winning team on the field.
Yeah.
For whatever reasons. And I didn't even mention the coach, Jason Garrett to Mike McCarthy. The same thing over and over and over again. And the only factor in that, the only continuing factor is Jerry Jones or the team itself. The aura of the Dallas Cowboys. And I think you hit the nail on the head. That's got to be it. You can only say you think you're just by chance getting the players with, at some point you put whatever player on this team, they're just getting brainwashed into it. I'm a Cowboy. I'm going to retire and I can say I'm a former Cowboy. That's what most of them do. Even if most of their career wasn't with the Cowboys, they'll be, when they go to events, a former Dallas Cowboy for the most part, unless they're significant with another team. It's just retreading the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Guys, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page, Peak One Sports. If you're listening on whatever podcast platform you listen on, thank you for that as well. Go ahead and follow. But until next time, we'll see you later. I'm Ashton.
I'm Tony.
See you later.